I better put her on airplane. All
So
right.
I'm going to do, Robert, I'm going to start a recording on my end, but since I'm going to turn over the hosting to your side, I'm not quite sure how well that's going to work. So if you want to do the recording as well, and then send it over to me, I think it'll still show everything on mine, but since you'll have all the abilities that I'll have on it, and I know you already know how to use Zoom just as well as I do.
Right. I think Rich is helping me in the background here. So I see him on there. So I imagine Rich is probably going to do the recording. Right, Rich?
Actually, no. You should do the recording because you're the one speaking, and the best audio is going to come from that.
So the best audio is going to come from me. So I just hit the little record button down.
Yes, sir. Yep. That's all you got to do. Yep.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm going to turn the hosting over to you.
Okay. How's the sound coming through? All right.
Yeah. Well, who's going to do the PowerPoint?
I'll be doing
it on the screen.
So I got to share screen.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and share that now then.
Okay. Hosting is over to you, so you have the ability to share your screen now.
I just got to find my PowerPoint. There it is. Double click or did it come out?
Remind everybody, once Robert does get started to his presentation, please put your microphones on mute so we don't hear you clanging dishes around or dogs barking in the background.
Hey.
And then would you remind people that you're going to do some prizes, and I have some people with their name is iPhone. So if you can change your name to your real name, then you'll be better off winning if we know who you are.
Ooh, yeah, and you got some good prizes that you guys give away.
All right. I'm ready. I better hit record though. Where's my record button? Escape one time. It's turned on.
Uh-oh.
Is that turned on?
Yes, it is.
Oh, our full screen here, and I want to hit record.
I'm sorry, Nikki. We're looking for the record button.
There it is. Yeah, it should be down here.
No, it's on the Zoom one. It's not on this one.
It's on the Zoom. I should have hit that first.
Mm-hmm.
Should have hit the record. Stop share just a second. Now,
looks like it's still recording on my side, so we should be good to go for your whole seminar.
All right. Now, minimize him. Ooh, you can't minimize the recording. Okay. How do I drag that up? Just got to drag your screen out, and I got to go back to share. Wait. I know what I did.
Right.
Share screen. Where are we? Where is it? There it is. Now, full screen. All right. Good morning. We are ready. Let's jump into this. Welcome to Grand Design Virtual Rally. Good to have all you folks here today. My name is Robert Henderson, and we're going to talk about safer and happier driving. And privileged to do this with Jeret. Jeret's been involved in one of these with us earlier this year. You may not know it due to my technical ability here, but I usually have somebody here doing all that kind of stuff for me. So we're going to jump in here, get started. I'd love to personally meet each one of you. That's what I usually do when I do a seminar. I go around, shake hands, find out where you're driving and where you're from. I'll talk a little bit about where I'm from. This is where we started out 57 years ago. Maybe even another year on top of that now, though, actually. Well, it was, yeah, because we started in 1961. Moved up from Fort Bragg, California, and Dad was looking for a business that he could teach his boys. He was actually looking for a parts house, couldn't find one, so he wound up buying this line-up and brake shop. And I appreciate my dad, and I appreciate this. He was in World War II, flew fighter bombers, was in D-Day, the Battle of the Bulge, and so thank you for any of you who have served out there. Grateful for you putting your life on the line. When I was a kid growing up, working for my dad, we literally grew up in the business. I said my mom fed me with a brake spoon when I was a kid because her house was connected to our shop. So I love what we do and grew up around it. But when I was a kid, you know, I had a big brother that loved hot rods and got involved in cars and started hanging around some kids. And I found out that I didn't think my dad knew that much when I was about 17, 18 years old. In fact, he didn't care for my friends too much. So I towed my 55 Chevy down to my buddy's house and proceeded to build the engine, balance and blueprinted small block Chevy, 4-speed Muncie transmission. And one day we were, started about 10 o'clock in the morning. We decided it's a good day to party, which every day was back in those days. Started out with Swiss malt liquor and Southern Comfort and smoking dope. That was before it was legal here in Oregon. And so we raced around the countryside. It got dark out. So, man, it's time to go to town. So we made one pass through town, made a second pass through town, hung a left-hand turn to go back the other way in the gut, hit the throttle, and it ran really strong, and I couldn't stop it. Bam! I hit the car in front of me. He gets out to look at his rig, see what kind of damage it did to it. Didn't hurt it at all. In fact, all it did was break out my left front headlight. So naturally, I throw the keys in the car and said, boys, we're walking home from here before I hurt somebody or damage my car. No, that's not what I did. I should have done that, but I didn't. I took off. Instead of going through town, I went wide open in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, banging the gears off as hard as I could. And between 65 and 75 miles an hour, I banged off third gear right in front of a house with a big party, which I didn't know was going on. A kid I went to school with backed out right in front of me with a 74 Chevy pickup, 4-wheel drive. And all I can tell you is that car went off the road, back onto the road as precision if it was on a slot car set. For those of you who are old enough to remember what the slot car sets were. And I'll never forget it as long as I live, looking in that little rearview mirror, that 55 Chevy, saying, whatever happened back there, it wasn't me driving that rig. So I slowed down and went home. And later on, I became a follower of Jesus Christ. And I found this verse in the Bible, Hebrews chapter 1, verse 14. And I'll paraphrase it. I say, angels have to keep knuckleheads like me alive long enough to come to know Jesus as their Savior. But that's what happened that day. And so it's amazing how God prepared me for what we do, because one of the questions we ask RV owners, we say, in the event of an emergency, would you like to know how your vehicle's going to respond or handle? And so that's kind of what we do. We really believe in helping people prepare for the unexpected. So what's the motto here? Yeah, you got it. Yeah, be prepared. So when it comes to RV steering and suspension, that's one of our mottos. Be prepared for the unexpected. We have pretty decent roads here in Oregon, but when you go over to the coast, the roads on the Oregon coast and the roads leading to the coast, you have all kinds of unexpected things happen on those roads. The way that the ground drops and bounces all over the place. And I've driven a lot of other places in the United States. You never know what you're going to hit in terms of wind. Now, Barb and I were driving down the freeway. We were following a truck and a trailer. You can see what this guy's doing here. See how he's drifting over, hitting the rumble strips. Now, we run it, we see this occasionally, and we know what's causing that. He's definitely got some trailer alignment problems. And he is really struggling with that. At the end of the day, it can really wear you out. So that's one of the things that we like to take a look at is trailer alignment. So we talk about thrust angles. The rear axles create thrust angles. The driver, the front suspension, ultimately the steer tires must exert a constant side force to keep you towing straight. So alignment's very important. When we do an alignment, we like to line everything up to either the kingpin or your ball mount when we do our wheel alignment. So everything's set in relation to that. So we get a very straight, true pulling trailer. We use the same equipment that we would use lining up a semi that runs 10,000 miles a month. Why is that important? For one thing, it's going to give you better tire wear, and you're going to cut the air cleaner, better aerodynamics. So very important trailer alignment. And this is a situation here. Actually, I should have my wife Barbara talk about this. You want to explain this one? She's here today with me. I'm blessed to have her with me, so I'll let her share this because she was actually driving when we came across this.
Well, we were in Nebraska, I believe. It's been a few years ago, and when we had our truck, which it drives amazing. We still have it. But Robert got tired, so I was driving, and it got really windy. And I said, it's really getting windy. And he's kind of dozing off over there. And I said, no, seriously, it's getting windy. He gets out his cell phone, and he starts videoing me. Like, yeah, like that. And I'm like, no, it's really windy. And all of a sudden, the traffic began to back up. And that is what was in front of us. And I told him, I told you it was windy. They rerouted us around some dirt roads, so I let him take over from there, just like I'm going to do now.
Thank you, Barbara. And I really appreciate that my wife can't help me drive, because I do have a little bit of problem with getting sleepy. I got this picture on my in my den on my wall. I tell people, when I die, I want to die peacefully like my grandfather did in his sleep, not kicking and screaming like the rest of his passengers. So how to avoid unexpected expectation? We do a process called the road performance assessment. And the reason we do that is we want to know what outcomes to expect before we begin the repair, because no one likes surprises unless they're fun surprises. And we also do the same process with the trucks and trailers as well, as that we work on. Because every truck and every trailer is a little bit different. The load, the overhangs, and every driver is a little bit different too. Some things some drivers are more sensitive. Like when I was a kid, my dad always criticized me about working the steering wheel all the time. It just bugged me to have play in anything. And the name of our aftermarket products is Super Steer for that reason, because anything that affects the steering, it really bothers me a lot. And so that's the name of our aftermarket products. But there's different things you can do to help the ride quality on trailers. And I could spend 3 days. Actually, I wrote a book and I spent a lot of time talking about trailers, and we probably have a slide about it in here. It's living life 1 mile at a time. But one of the things I run into with trailers is that their springs are so short. They're only about 2 feet long. So you have a lot of energy put in a little short piece of steel. And that's why we have a lot of trailer springs breaking, because there's just not a lot of give in them. You have about 2.5 inches of total travel on that. And so springs are known to break. So what are one of the things you can do to help keep springs from breaking? One of the most inexpensive things to do is use the sumo springs that set up on top of the trailer axle, and easy to install. They fit over the top of your U-bolts that are there, and then they hook on with some J-hooks to hold them in place. Reduces vibration, reduces wear and tear, reduce ownership costs, and reduce failures. I think I have a video coming up here. Let's see if it's going to play for us. This will show you sumo springs in action on I believe this is a double or triple, might be a triple axle trailer, I'm not sure, but anyway, you'll be able to see them in action. Yeah, 3-axle toy hauler. You see those springs really getting pushed there. I got slow motion. You see the sumo springs up in here, and there they are, absorbing that forces. Yeah, so absorbing that energy. Sway dramatically reduced. It's interesting, if you watch those axles, you can actually see those axles flexing as well, how the camber actually changes over bumps. When you hit bumps, they're flexing. Bridge abutment, and we love those bridge abutments. Or there's some nasty ones out there. Stock suspension, you can see that thing hammering. Now, a lot of vibration. It's amazing the suspensions hold up as good as they do. Okay, now we have the symbol on there. Here it is up there. See, a lot of that energy is being absorbed into it. Okay, let's move on here. Some other products that people talk to us about is the MORryde, and what the idea with the MORryde is you're increasing your travel up from 2.5 inches to a total travel of 4 inches. They have also another one called the SRE 3000, which gives you about another 1/2 inch of movement up and down. But the SRE 4000, there's rubber inside of this box, so it's going to give it more travel is basically what you're doing. There's also some different bushing options. We see a lot of problems with the around these, especially if they're the thinner metal shackles. We'll see witness marks where these have been getting loose there and working around. There's so much stress put on a trailer when you're backing in and out. A lot of side load taking place on these things, and so there's heavier duty, heavier cast versions that have grease fitting. Call this a wet bolt. There's also some bushings that are, they call them never fail bushings. They're made out of like a special Duralin material, something like that. It's supposed to be a lifetime bushing, which the plastic bushings usually only last about 10 to 20,000 miles before they're getting worn, depending on the weight of the trailer. Again, MORryde says it's all about the travel. That's what they're trying to do, is extend the travel. And they provide up to 4 inches of travel, protect from damaging road shock, easy bolt-on installation, 3-year warranty, tested and rated for up to 7,000. Okay, now with MORryde, currently we're doing more MORryde independent suspensions than ever. So we're getting a lot of experience with them. This is their independent suspension where you remove the leaf springs completely. And this is a rubber shear block in here. So we're shearing the rubber back and forth. And what's the advantage of it? Definitely a lot smoother ride quality, and you improve your control and handling up to 5.5 inches of suspension travel, which is that's a good amount of travel. Reduce vibration, even over the roughest roads, and it protects your trailer. If you can protect your trailer, all your walls, all your appliances and everything are going to last longer, and also it's going to be smoother in your truck up there as well. So this is with the disc brake conversion. We're doing a lot of the disc brake conversions at the same time because the disc brakes work a lot better than the electric brakes. These are electric over hydraulic, so they have an electric actuator, but they're actually hydraulic at the wheel, and they do provide far superior stopping. There's a drawing of it, and you can see there's a rubber shear spring that way. They have a beam that goes the whole way across from one side to the other to help strengthen the frame up as well. And there is a shock upgrade that we have available for that too. Bilstein makes a replacement shock that's a better quality shock than what comes with the MORryde originally. Another thing with MORryde we get is that between the truck and the trailer, you have a lot of, the truck's trying to do one thing, the fifth wheel, the tow behind's trying to do something else. So with the MORryde pin box here, again, it's a rubber shear action, and we get up to 3 inches fore and aft here to absorb that chucking, and it also gives you 1.5 inches of side movement that way. So a lot less chucking and jerking, cushioning sensation over uneven roads conditions, jerk-free starts and stops, smoother, more comfortable ride in the cab. Excellent product. MORryde's a good company. We've worked with them for many, many years. Another option that we've done to help people on the rough roads, it's about half the price of the MORryde independent suspension system. We use a Roadmaster Comfort Ride slipper spring. We help bring this product to Roadmaster because the other folks that were building it weren't doing a great job with the product quality and production. So the one thing we do like about this is that you go from 10 moving parts down to just 4 with the slipper springs. No longer have the equalizers. The springs aren't tied to each other. The springs are free to move independently over a bump. So that's nice. So what they their claims about a 50% reduction in road energy, 76% reduction on cobblestones, 94% reduction on gravel roads. So low maintenance. 10 of the 14 parts, like I said, are limited lifetime lubricated bushings. And we've been having good success with this as well. And it does come with a set of shocks. You can buy the shock kit separately from the Comfort Ride Spring Assist, but you get the full benefit when you get the slipper springs installed. So again, reduces the chance of spring breakage. And if you get the shocks with it, definitely going to handle better. The shock mounts are built into this. You can see that the shocks aren't installed in this picture, but there is shock mounts built into this kit as well. There's got a picture of a slipper spring. So it's riding on this roller. So it's actually should be called a roller spring in a way, but that's the idea. Some of them use a Teflon block there, but these actually come with like a roller in there. And if you have these installed already, one of the things that we've been watching is make sure your rollers are rolling properly. We've been talking about changing these to a different design, and we may start doing ourselves. We've had some problems where people tighten these bolts down that this roller is not rolling properly, and it's sliding, wearing out the metal surface and wearing through the coating on this steel. It's got like an anodized coating on it, or got some kind of a coating on there. So if you have those, you might want to check those and make sure that they're wearing okay there. So testimonial, they made a heck of a difference in both the truck and trailer ride. This is Ted and Linda Morris. They definitely like the change in it with the slipper springs, and you get a lot less noise back in the trailer up. It's one of the things I noticed, not so much creaking and popping when you back your rig up in and out. And we do trailer inspections at the shows, and when we get back to doing some live rallies again, Jeret works with us, and we have a sign-up sheet, so we'll do a visual inspection on your trailer and truck. We'll check all the components out. We'll weigh it if you want to pay to have it weighed as well. Then we'll check your steering and suspension on the truck as well, and see if there's anything we could recommend that would make a better marriage between the two. And so this is one of the most radical ones, and thankfully that's just a photo, and we didn't have to work on that one. Don't get any ideas, Jeret. So this is actually at a Grand Design rally. This is the video here I took, and I'll go ahead and play it. We were underneath checking a rig, and it was interesting with this gentleman that I talked to. I asked him twice if he was having any problems with his fifth wheel. I said, no, I have no problems. No problems, no concerns. So I'll go ahead and play this video.
What year is this fifth wheel? 18. So I'm underneath a 2018 Grand Design, and we were just doing our normal ways. Customer had no complaint. And one of the things we always do when we're doing our ways is we do a courtesy inspection, look things over. And we discovered that this one here is just about ready to blow the rear tire. And he said they've only got a couple thousand miles on it.
Yeah, I get
so
around 3,000 miles on that.
Fitting something,
with the delivery.
You can see all the steel cord showing on this thing. It's not long before it's going to blow. Looking at this rear axle, it doesn't look like it's sitting in there, almost like the spring center bolt.
Sorry about that. I was crawling underneath there at the time.
Yeah, look at this up here. You can see that is not sitting flush.
Crushed the actual.
Oh, look at that. Listen.
U-bolts were loose.
Oh, the nuts missing. Look at that, Rich. The nuts are actually missing off of the. You're ready to lose this whole axle on this thing.
And I have to say, Grand Design went the extra mile on that one.
What year is this fifth wheel?
They sent us out. There's a photo of it. They sent them out a new axle with all the hardware and everything, no charge. And obviously, it wasn't Grand Design's fault. Possibly could have been happened when the hot shot guy delivering the rig hit something super hard. You see where the paint's gone off of there, it crushed it so hard. And these nuts were ready to fall off as well. they were finger tight. And on this photo on the left, I'm just showing that sumo spring actually makes a bumper that goes in between here, so you can get your overloads to kick in quicker when you're putting your weight of your fifth wheel or bumper pull trailer on there. So it activates the overload springs a little sooner, and you get rid of that. Sometimes if you're riding half and half, they kind of slap. But if you put the sumos in there, it'll make the whole assembly be more level when you're towing, so the truck won't squat. But we look for all kinds of things underneath there. This one here, we found some of the early design shock kits. They were cracking. You can see where we had fractures in that. And that was one of the reasons we wanted Roadmaster to start building that. So we knew their stuff would be better. And there's that axle housing. You can see where it's crushed from the impact when it hit that suspension. Here's another one we found with a broken spring. You can see where the spring was digging up into the bottom of the coach. This is actually on a Dodge truck. And I discovered that the track bar was actually rubbing on this rivet in the frame, like that. So it actually been hitting while it was out on the road. Express loads being put on it was causing that to hit. So we look for those kind of little detail things when we're doing our inspections. Yeah, and this is another one. Another thing that we ran into on these Dodges is that these jam nuts were coming loose, and the factory tried a bunch of different things. The last time I saw them, they were actually spot welding the nut onto the drag link, and so you would not be able to adjust the center on your steering wheel if those were welded in place. The idea is having this adjustable. If your steering wheel is not on the high point of the gearbox, you can adjust it, but they've been having problems with this style nut coming loose, and they needed to put like a Bellevue washer or something like that on there, and they didn't do it. Here's our RPA forms, the road performance assessment forms for the trailer. What we're going to check for: pull, play, pull, wander, harsh ride, wander, sway, bucking, bounce, vibration, any noises, check the brakes, acceleration, lane change, look for tire wear, ride height, suspension type. And we do a lot of things on the trucks. We have idler arms for the General Motors trucks. We do a lot of those heavy duty or tie rods to replace them, anti-sway bars, and we also do a lot, I don't know, we have a picture of the track rods, but yeah, it's another product for blowout protection that we use where it will fit the trucks. You drop a tire off in a ditch, it's going to protect you for road wander and rut tracking, driver fatigue. It gives you much better center point. Super springs, another product that we use to carry the load. If we can beef the spring up itself, we'd like to beef it up at the spring rather than using airbags. So if we can get away from it, I like the super springs because they do have rollers in the eyes, so when you're unloaded, it doesn't ride as harsh. Airbags, they have a tendency to leak, and so we try to not use them unless we have to. We know there's certain places where air springs are great, but we use a lot of the Coney and Bilstein pickup shocks, and Henderson hitch is something that I just like it because for those of us who like to be able to use our truck, this is a great option for lightweight, so you can continue to use the back of your pickup.
The ultimate fifth wheel connection from Henderson Hitches is the lightest, strongest, most innovative fifth wheel hitch in the world. Weighing in at a mere 35 pounds, Henderson Hitches has completely eliminated the common struggle of getting your fifth wheel hitch into the bed of your truck. The ultimate fifth wheel connection gives you an incredibly smooth and quiet ride. We've eliminated the struggle so you can spend your time creating memories that will last a lifetime.
Right. I wanted to show a track bar there. I guess I didn't have one in the presentation. What a track bar does is it ties the rear end to the frame, the housing to the frame, and helps keep it tracking straighter. We find that any vehicle that we can put a track bar on better for towing, even unloaded. You'll notice about a 20% reduction in sway around corners as well. For those of you that are doing bumper pulls, it's more important because the weight's back there on the bumper, so it's working against the axle more. Fifth wheel, you got the weight right over the top of the axle where the kingpin is, but they still do benefit from track bars. Even trucks with dual wheels on the back, when we put a track bar on there, we can still feel the difference in it. But it's a little more critical when you're bumper pulling and with the single tires on the back. Anyway, that's the end of my show, and I believe we can take some questions now. I'm gonna escape out of here, and if I can stop share. Okay, we're back, I hope. Can everybody see me? Good.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Hey, I have a question. This is Jim Hinkle. On my travel trailer, when I purchased it, it wasn't very long afterwards that I started to get inside tire wear on one of the tires. I contacted Grand Design. We had Lippert axles on it. They sent me a new axle, which I installed. Then on an opposite tire on the other side, I started to get outside tire wear. Contacted Grand Design. They sent me another axle. So now I'm on my third axle, and the tires are wearing fine. Have you, in your experience, seen issues with any of the axles coming from either Lippert or Dexter that might wind up actually having a spindle that's out of alignment?
Not particularly. It does seem like certain ones just weren't made like on a Friday or something like that, but I haven't seen it so much as a spindles. It could be caused by the spindle. We wouldn't know it, but if the spindle was actually bent, then you would have bearing problems. It would put the bearings in a bind. So if it was installed incorrectly or not welded on there perpendicular the way it's supposed to be, or parallel with the axle, whichever way you want to look at it, but that could be a problem. But it seems like, especially the 7K axles and lighter, they're pretty soft. They've been, when we do our straightening and correction tools on them, there doesn't take much force to get in the bend. Now you get into the 8K axles, those axle housings are a lot tougher and a lot stronger. When we go to bend them, our normal bending equipment won't even straighten them. We're going to have to get heavier equipment just to straighten out those 8K axles. But I can't say if I've seen anything in particular where that is, and it would be pretty hard for me to determine exactly what that was. I would have to have the whole axle out, put it in a jig, and see where the problem is. But yeah, doing alignments the way that we do them, we straighten out the axle. We can change the toe in on them very easily, and the camber as well with the correction tool. That's on the 7Ks. The 8Ks, we're still looking at which is the equipment we want to use to try to straighten those, but haven't had as much problem with them.
And you're going to provide us information on where you're located at?
Yeah, we're in Grants Pass, Oregon. 417 Henderson Lane is our address, and our website is hendersonslineup.com, and our outside sales is supersteerparts.com. Henderson's is HendersonsLineup.com, and our phone number, if anybody wants it, is 541-479-2882. 541-479-2882.
Great. I'm going to be coming up through that area next summer. I'll stop in for an alignment.
Okay. Very good. We'll look forward to seeing you, Jim.
Great. Thank you.
And Robert, you should also mention too how many RV sites and hookups you have at your location in case they do need to stay there for an extra day or so.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. We have several of them. We probably have about a half a dozen or more. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I think we got about 7, 8, 9, something like that all together. They're 30 amps, most of them. But yeah, it works well. I see I have another question there on the chat. Are you monitoring the chat, Jared, or should I just look at these?
I just started looking at them here. So one of them is, what would be the first suspension upgrade that you would recommend on a stock fifth wheel?
That's a great question. One of the first things that I would recommend, actually I'll back up a little bit, depends on how much I was using it and what I was using it for. If I was just occasional use on it and sitting most of the time, I'd probably look at those Sumo springs. If I was going to be driving it around more, then I'd be looking at, for sure, putting some shocks on it if there's no shock absorbers on it. And if I didn't want to have to worry about broken springs, or I wanted to really improve the ride quality, you're going to start getting a lot more noticeable difference when you go into like the slipper springs. The MoreRide 4000, you'll start noticing more difference. We don't notice a whole lot of difference in the rubber equalizers that only give you like an extra ½ inch or 1 more inch of a travel. You don't notice as much difference on those, but shocks for sure. But the Sumo spring will act as a shock because it's absorbing some of that energy. It's not going to increase the travel. In fact, in some cases, it might decrease the travel a little bit, but you are going to reduce your chance of breaking a leaf spring. If you want to get the best ride that we've seen so far, it's been with the MoreRide independent suspensions or the full air suspensions, which I've only seen them. I haven't installed any yet. We have installed some of the product on the pickups. An outfit out of Canada makes an air suspension conversion for pickups as well as fifth wheels. But we've done a lot of the MoreRides. The thing about a MoreRide is you don't have any airbags to leak on it. You don't have to worry about air compressors or the rest of that. It's a big job because you got to totally clean everything off the frame, prep it right, and get it done. But the springs have a 5-year warranty on the MoreRide springs, and we are seeing them more of them go out around 10 years from what we're seeing before they start having to be replaced. And there is adjustments for ride height on your MoreRide. So what you're looking for, the problem on a MoreRide spring when it goes bad is delamination. Now the factory they say up to 3/4 of an inch of delamination is okay, but when it gets over 3/4 of an inch of delamination, they recommend replacing the spring. What that is that the material is going to actually tear away from the backing that it's vulcanized to. That helpful? Got another question there?
Yep, you got another question from Jim. Do you recommend the MoreRide X Factor brace with the CRE 3000?
Well, I think they really recommend it more with the 4000, but if you can put those cross members in there, you're strengthening up the frame rails. The frames are pretty light on any of these pull trailers or fifth wheels. So you can put in more than one cross member. So you can actually put in, well, depending on how many axles you have, but for sure, we do recommend the cross members. Again, that's going to provide extra lateral stability in the suspension. The spring hangers that they hang those things on off the frame are very light steel as well. And I see a lot of those that have been bent one way or the other with the stock suspension on there as well, with the equalizer suspension.
Yeah. And a question we had yesterday when MoreRide did their seminar, we just had a recording. We weren't able to have an actual MoreRide rep come on. And when they were doing the recording, they were talking about the CRE 3000 and the CRS 4000. And one of the question was, which one would MoreRide recommend? And I know you've installed numerous ones. Which one of those do you normally recommend?
Well, I'm going to go for the one with the furthest amount of travel, and that would be the 4000. So again, we're trying to get some movement before everything comes to a stop. And so the 4000 would be the one that I would recommend. It's going to get your total travel up to 4 inches, which is still only 2 inches up, 2 inches down. That would be the one that I would recommend, again, with the X Factor cross brace also. Now, we've had some of those delaminate on us. We had several of them there a year or two ago that had delamination, and I don't know what happened to them. But I will say that you need to be careful of that, because when it delaminated, it wound up coming down and resting on a propane gas line. So you want to watch that, and you'll know it because one side of your trailer is going to be sitting lower. So you want to watch that on those.
Yeah.
I think they've got the problem eliminated, and they stood behind all of it, but that was of a concern to me naturally when I saw that happen. That could make life pretty exciting.
So Brian's wondering if the X Factor helps trailers that have the Roadmaster slipper springs. I believe that's what he's got on his.
Yeah, if you can get a cross member in there, and any good fab shop could make it fit. If it was a little bit of interference, you could build a cross member. And the Morride does have an adjustable center section on it, so it certainly wouldn't hurt. We haven't started doing that yet, but I do want to start doing that as an option when we install the Roadmaster slipper springs. So that's a great question, and if it was mine, I'd want to do it just because I know those frames are pretty lightweight underneath those towables. Good question.
How long does it take to install a Morride independent setup?
Yeah, we're usually looking at 3 days on it. We figure 3, if not 4. I'd rather have a customer figure on being there for a little bit longer than that, up to a week, just so we have time if we run into anything. We have had some challenges making sure everything was there when it came to us. We've been missing some components, so then we have to go back to Morride to, hey, you forgot the shocks or whatever. So we're going to try to start stocking some of the Bilstein shocks here, so we'll have an upgrade available for them. In fact, I need to make myself a note of that, because that's happened to us more than once. So we're the only place in the country that they allow to install the Morride IS. So we're getting very experienced at it, but it is a big job. But our guys really try to do a good job they take their time running the brake lines, and they try to really do a first-class job whenever they install those. And then we have to align it after it's all installed as well. So Eric's been with us about 27 or 28 years now, I think. He heads up those projects, and we have several other guys that are getting a lot of experience on the Morride IS as well. Definitely pretty impressive if you get it right. And that's what we try to do with folks. We like to go for a ride and have you ride back there in that thing for a ways and feel what it's like back there. It's pretty amazing. I'll never forget one time we had a guy come in. We were going to put shocks on. He had a Morride, I don't remember. I think he had the Morride 3000 on his, and we went out for a ride in it. We did a video recording, and his cat, he stayed in the fifth wheel, and the cat was just meow meow. It was not a happy camper. And I could see why, because after about 5 miles of riding back there, just shook you right to the core, and putting shocks on it helped, but it's still, man, it's something riding back there in one of those things. If you follow down the road behind a fifth wheel or pull trail, you can see it, but to ride back there and experience that is really something. So what we like to do is before and after, so you can feel the difference in it. That's where the RPA comes in. Good questions. I don't know if we talked about bearing. I didn't mention about bearing packs, but one thing I will say with a pull behind is they're out of sight, out of mind. So it's not a bad idea to have some tire pressure monitoring systems on it. You have a bearing or something go bad and you wouldn't know about it. If you have a tire pressure monitoring system that measures temperature, that would show you if you had a temperature going up on one of your wheels. The other little thing that you can buy at Harbor Freight or a Napa store or parts house is a little heat gun, so you can go around and measure the temps of your individual wheels and tires after you get in off the road and see if you have something running hot on one side or not on one wheel.
That's a good idea to carry. I don't have a heat gun with me. I got the
yeah, it's a good
temperature monitors, the tire pressure monitors on the tires, but I don't have the heat gun.
Right. and shocks on the truck, if we can do upgrades on the shocks or the suspension, because a lot of that energy, again, it's a war. In fact, that's, I think in our book, what we did was he said, your truck and trailer need a marriage counselor, because they're fighting each other. And so we try to make them get along with each other. And Rich is on here. I think, Rich, I didn't see a copy of our book on there, Living Life 1 Mile at a Time. Did I miss a slide in the presentation? If anybody's interested in that, we can send you a free, first chapter is free. It's at the publisher for editing now. And so anyway, Rich he's chat in there. He wants to spin the wheel. We got a couple gift certificates we're going to give away.
He's ready.
I want to make sure and answer
There was a last question a dentist asked. I don't know if you guys caught that. The X factor help on trailers, or did you cover that? Just want to make sure we didn't miss anybody.
Right. No, definitely the X factor will definitely help. It's a good idea. Very good idea.
Well, if there's any more questions, Robert, if you hand over the host to me, I'll be able to share my screen, show everybody what you stuck around for, other than amazing information. Henderson's Lineup Super Steer is going to give away 2 separate gift certificates, and I'll show you what that looks like as soon as I have the ability to share my screen.
Did you share the screen?
Do I need to share with you, Rich, or what?
You need to hand over control. I know it's hard, Robert, but I need the power.
How do you do it?
Do I hit share with Rich?
If you right click, if you look at my name and there's a little 3 dots in the corner, you can actually pass off power that way.
Right click. Okay.
Yeah, see the dots next to my name?
Right click on that.
Yeah, if you just click on it, it should be able to say make host.
Right click wasn't working. Make host.
There you go.
There.
All right.
Hey.
Hostess for the mostest. Huh?
There you go. All right. Yes, I can say. Okay. Let me know if you can see this little graphic.
Yep.
Big old graphic there. We're going to give away 2 of these $250 gift certificate to the purchase of anything, whether it's on the Supersteer parts.com, or if all that stuff that you've learned about from Robert, you want to say, you know what, I want to check some of this out, add it to my trailer, my 5th wheel. You can get $250 at Henderson's Lineup towards a more ride or a project that you desire. So that's awesome. All right, well, here's the fun wheel. I found this online and I thought, wow, this thing is really, really cool. So this is how many people were on the webinar. Hopefully, now Bob and Chris, because you're both sitting there together, I counted you as 2 people. So you got double the chance to be able to win something. All right. All right, you guys ready to do this?
Ready.
All right, so I'm going to spin the wheel once, and then if you get selected, your name's going to go off. So I apologize, you'll get 2 chances. All right, here we go.
For $50, I can help your chances to win.
Oh, I'm so sorry, whoever Carol is. You just missed it.
Oh, Joe.
Joe, are you on here, Joe? There, I see his name. Now, should we make Joe say, "Hey, I won. Thank you so much," or something?
Yeah.
I see the name in the deal.
Joe, yeah.
So, Joe, if you're on and you're listening, you have to acknowledge yourself.
Actually, I'm Carol. I just changed devices. I'm Carol Torrance.
I'm so sorry, Carol. It was so close, but don't worry. I'm going to spin it one more time.
That's all right.
All right. So, Joe, please send a message to Jeret through chat and let him know your information. We'll get this gift certificate out to you. All right, here we go. One more chance.
Okay, Joe just sent me one and said, I'm here.
Okay, good.
Oh, Tom.
Oh.
All right. All right, so Tom, same thing for you. Let Jeret know who you are. And thank you, Robert, so much for that, all that great information. And I'll turn it back over to Jeret.
send it over to me. So you guys that won, send me a text message. I'll send, Joe just sent that one in there. So send over in the little chat box, send me your email address, and I will get that over to Robert so that he can get your actual mailing address so he can send this out to you, send your winning certificate out to you so you guys can get there. And if you guys are in Grants Pass, you guys got to stop by there and see his operation. It's pretty nice and what he can do for everybody. If you come out to our rallies as well, you guys got to see it, especially his portable scales. Oh, you want to find out what your RV actually weighs, wheel by wheel. And if you're overweight, you may not want him to do that. I had him do that a couple years ago, and we found out that we don't want him to weigh our RV when we were it wasn't a pretty sight. So we have him weigh us after we take everything out of our RV.
Yeah. After the rally's over, then we weigh Jared's.
But Robert's probably he's probably forgot more about RVs than I will ever know. Any questions you have about RV, get a hold of Robert, get a hold of Barbara, get a hold of Rich. Those guys know their stuff.
Yeah. Well,
So,
thank you, Jeret. It's been great. I love working with the Grand Design folks, great folks, and we're looking forward to doing more of it in the future. Online and in person, both ways.
yeah, this is what we got to do for this one for it, but we will definitely get to some more here. And we got to get you down to Southern California, though.
Do we have to?
We got it. We're going to have some fun there. It's in April
Okay.
next year, the second weekend of
Next year.
April.
Well, that time of year we might be able to be talked into going. It's still a little chilly up here.
That's right. April and half is cold.
I missed something.
So if you guys don't have any more questions for Robert, you can always ask him what the square root of zinc is. See if we can put him on the spot.
I'll defer that to you.
4.
Okay. I'm still trying to figure out a pi square. I always thought it was round, you know. Cornbed are square, right?
Oh boy.
All right. Well, we love to have fun. That's why we love working with Jeret, because he likes to have fun too. So we appreciate him. Goes the extra mile. He really treats his vendors well. Not too many people treat their vendors as well as Jeret does. So we're grateful that we can work with him. God bless all you guys. Jesus loves you very much. You have a blessed rally. Continue the great work there, Jeret.
Well, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Yep. Say hi to your better half for us too.
I will do so. She's right now in helping Loyal and Pam and getting ready for a family event that's going on up at the lodge at Wainema. So she's busy working. And I get to play.
There you go. There you go. Well, let us know when we can hook up again with you, either virtually or in person.
Will do. Well, thank you everybody for coming out for Robert's seminar, and our next one is going to be coming up at 10:30 Pacific. So if you're on another time zone, please make sure you adjust. So that's roughly in 40 minutes is the next one, and that is Pro-Tang Fire Suppression with JC Mooney. So make sure you're here in roughly about 40 minutes. We'll see everybody in just a little bit.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.